This is now the fourth instructional video of the series, and I'm calling it just basically for Excel number 4. And what it deals with is using the SUMIF function for sorting data or totaling data in an Excel worksheet where you don't have to actually go through and resort the file every time you want to come up with a total. And I had mentioned in an earlier video when we talked about totaling stuff that I was going to show you the easiest way and not necessarily the best way. Well, this video now takes the step beyond, and it is going to show you the absolute best way to sort data where you're going to get the answers that you want quickly, and they're going to be accurate, and it's going to give you a lot of flexibility and really demonstrate the power that exists in Excel for you to perform functions in the office that are going to help the company to run the business. Of course, should go without saying is this is the fourth video, and you should view the first 3 before you even look at this one. I purposely have this video that just focuses on the one function, SUMIF, because it's the one that I think you're going to go back maybe and use multiple times. Certainly after you start working, when you have it the first few times you're trying to come up with totals by category, going back to this video to get a refresher on how it's done is going to be a valuable tool for you. So that's why I particularly wanted it to be separate. The ones now that are going to follow this, when we get to Excel number 5, we're going to go into some of the basic functions that you're going to want to use in Excel. But for the purposes of this one, SUMIF is what it concentrates on. And so without really spending a lot more time on that, other than to tell you, you can get a picture of all of the videos that I have put together by going to the website that's shown below, and then you can go in there, and then all of the videos that are posted will be there. So with that, we'll actually move into this video. Okay, I want you to take a little time now to understand what it is that I'm trying to convey to you. In the last video at the end, we went ahead and we wanted to calculate the total sales for the battery, the belt, the cable set, and so on. And in order to do that, we went ahead and we sorted all of this data so that all of the battery information was together. And then we went through and we said sum up, and we just selected the cells that had battery sales in them. And that works. And I said to you, that's the easiest way to sort, but it isn't the best way. And the reason it isn't the best way is that every time you would want to put together a total on something, you would have the responsibility of resorting the data in order to put it together by whatever you wanted to sort by. And that's cumbersome for one thing, and the thing that's really a problem is you're going to change the cells that have the information, and so you're going to be reporting bad information. So now let's talk about a best practice. And let's say that we want to know what the total sales are for each one of these items. To be illustrative of what we're going to do is I have copied the information from the last video into this column that you're looking at. In other words, the battery sales that we actually had when we sorted the data and totaled things was 4,681.53. But I don't want to do that this time. What I want to do this time is I want to let Excel look at the information and pull out only that information that I want. And to do that for total sales, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a function we haven't used yet, and it's called SUMIF. And so I'm going to say equals SUMIF. I'm going to select that. And the first thing is I'm going to end up looking at the range of the cell, of the column here, that has the information. This column, column E, has all of the information that I want. So I'm going to highlight it. And after it's highlighted, and this is going to be a little bit confusing for you, I'm going to, on my Mac, I'm going to push Command and then T. And when I do that, you'll see, if you look at the formula, that dollar signs have been added. The dollar signs are just a symbol that I have frozen that range, that I know that the description of the item is going to be always in column E. And if I want to consider the whole database, I always want to look at E7 to E49 because that contains the items that I'm looking for. And you'll see in a minute why that's important. The next thing after the range says criteria. I'm going to put a comma in. And what I'm looking for is the word battery. So that's telling Excel, when I highlight it like that they should look in that range of E7 to E49, and they should select only the items where the item is shown as battery. Now I'm going to put another comma, and when they find that, they should now total. Take the total sales. So I'm going to highlight the column J, and I'm going to get all the way down to total sales. And then when I do that, I'm once again going to hit Command and then T, and it's going to put my dollar signs in. I'm going to close the parentheses. And you might say at this point, well, wait a minute, I'm not using a Mac like you are, and so that's not going to work for me on a PC. And you'd be right, because the code that you need if you're working on a PC is Command 4. So instead of putting in Command T, you use Command 4, and those dollar signs will go in there just like that. So once you're happy that you've got the formula written, we're going to enter that by hitting the return key, and lo and behold, the total is the same thing that we got before when we did the individual sort. Because we entered the formula the way we did, because we froze the range and we froze the sales, we're now in a position where all we can have to do is to drag this down to all of the items. And again, lo and behold, look what we've got. We've now got the same totals that we got on the last video, but we didn't have to re-enter the formula each time after sorting the file. We didn't sort the file. We left it all the way that it was. And then when we went through that, we were able, without a problem, to come up with the individual total sales for each of the different categories. A much simpler approach. Hopefully you can see and did see how easy it was for us to come up with these totals using the SUMIF function. And again, the nice thing is, if we started out with this thing in date order and we wanted to continue adding to this database month after month, year after year, we were able to do that without having to constantly resort the information in order to create meaningful reports. So to continue along the line here, if we wanted to know what the profit was on each of these items, we would use the SUMIF function one more time. We would say equals SUMIF. We would select that. And in this case, we want to know again, on item basis, so we would highlight column E that has all of the items in it, and then once we got through, we would end up pushing Command T. If it's a Mac, we would put in our comma. We would again highlight battery because we're interested in the battery. Then we would put in our comma, and then now instead of using total sales, we would use profit. Now, highlight that again. Command T again, put in our dollar signs. And then we would end up closing the parentheses. And so now we know the profit that we made on the sales of those batteries was $936,305 at the decimal. It's not showing as a dollar amount, and we want it to be a dollar amount. But for now, let's just grab it by the corner dot, drag it all the way down, and so now we've got all of these numbers, but they're not shown as money. And we looked at that before, but just while it's highlighted, we go up to the top in the middle where I am now, and under General, you see the boxes underneath that give us some choices. This time I'm just going to click the arrow next to General. And when I do that, you see all of the choices that I have. Now there is an icon that will allow me to skip this step, but I wanted you to see it. I'm going to just select currency. And when I do that, you can see that the dollar signs are added and all of the information is now changed over so that the currency is showing. Again, the nice thing about this is I can leave my database sorted the way it was entered. I can add to this, I can add columns to the right, I can add columns to the bottom, and then continue to work with the data. As an example here, I've set up another box, and I've already done some of the work preliminarily for you here. So what might I want to see in this particular set of boxes? So now what I've done is I've set up a separate box, and instead of listing stuff by item, you'll see that I've listed it by the different regions that we have salespeople around the country. And the only reason that this is here is to illustrate that we are able to use Excel to total by any way we choose to, provided we handle the functions in Excel properly. Now, when we did the things by item, we ended up using battery belt and so forth. Well, this time we want to sum by region instead. So we're going to say equal, and we're going to say sum if again. And when we do that, we're going to highlight the region that we're region column. So we're going to go all the way down on the region column to the last item. And then we're going to hit Command T. And by doing that, we put those dollar signs in, which again is there to freeze the region, the range that we want. Now we're going to put in a comma and highlight Mid-Atlantic. We're telling Excel to look in the region of C7 to C49, that's the column, to look for P15, which are the words Mid-Atlantic. And when it finds that, to then go ahead and account for the total sales just for that item. And so now we're going to go all the way down, that everything is highlighted, and we're going to put in Command T again, so we put those dollar signs in, and then we're going to close the parentheses. When we hit the return key, you'll notice that we get a number, but it's not dollars. It's just a big decimal, but that's okay. We'll worry about that in a minute or so. Now that we've got that, we're going to highlight the cell we've just done, go to that little dot on the bottom like we've done before, drag it all the way down. So now you're looking at decimal equivalents of the sales by each of the regions that we have salespeople. Let's do the same thing for profit. We're going to start out by saying equals sum if. We're going to accept sum if. We're going to go ahead and highlight our regions again, all the way down to the bottom. We get it all highlighted. We're going to hit Command T again to put those dollar signs in. We're going to put in a comma, and now we're going to, again, tell Excel to look for Mid-Atlantic, another comma, and this time we're going to tell Excel to look for the profit. We're going to go all the way down to the end of profit. When we're happy that we're there, we're going to hit Command T, very important. And then we're going to close off. And then when we hit the return key, it tells me that there's an error that has been made. And that's good. If you make a mistake and Excel spots it, that you've clicked on the wrong place or something, you can look at that. Do you want to accept this correction? Now we can accept it by saying yes, and then we're going to end up with getting the profit for that item. If in fact we've entered something where Excel corrected it incorrectly, we would say no, which we could have. We could have said, oh, we've entered it wrong. So now we're going to go ahead and say we're going to do it again if we said the correction was wrong. So we'll say sum if. We will highlight the regions again. Command T again. Put in our comma. Select Mid-Atlantic, P15. Put in the comma. And now take the profit all the way down to the bottom. We're happy that that's it. Command T again. Close the parentheses and hit the return key. And you see that the correction we could have accepted was right. But just to illustrate that Excel, to the degree that it can, is trying to help you. Now we're going to highlight that, copy it all the way down, and we have decimal equivalents. So what we're going to do is highlight this whole thing. And when we highlight the whole thing like I just have, we can now go through and select in this general area, we can take the dollar sign. And when we select that, you'll see that all of the monies have been changed to dollars. Now we're going to go through just for drill to check stuff out. We're going to go up to total sales in the one we did before, and we're going to say equals sum. We're going to highlight that, and we're going to copy all of those down. And we're going to find that the sum, total sales, is $28,373.56. Now we're going to highlight that cell and copy it over to the next one. Get the total profit. Total profit was $87.45. Let's do the same thing at this next row, the next box. It should be the same. So we'll say equals sum. Different categories, but we're dealing with the same numbers. So obviously we should get the same totals. So when we're happy with that, we can copy that over, excuse me. I'm going to drag that over. And so now you'll see that even though they're in different categories, the first one is in item order with totals, the next one is in region order with totals. We could actually do this by sales rep if we wanted. Any of the columns that are in our spreadsheet as we accumulate it are usable to do these kinds of things with. So again, I only want to cover sum if in this video. I want to stress to you that it's a super important video because it's one of the things that gives you the flexibility in Excel that you're looking to get. Okay, I'm going to end this video here. And on the next video, when you get into it, what you're going to see is a whole bunch of different functions that you can use to make calculations in Excel easier. The SUMIF that we used on this video and the COUNTIF, which we didn't use but works very similar, added to the other very basic functions, will get you to where you need to go as far as being considered proficient at Excel. And I need to stress the point that you're not going to be familiar with all of the functions in Excel or all of the things that you might do depending on what kind of work you're in, but rather that when you're using worksheets as the basis for how the company runs in a whole bunch of different ways, you will be conversant with how to do the various things, and it'll certainly, hopefully anyways, give you the confidence to say you can look at some of these other things. And then as a supplement to that, my intention would be to add a number of additional videos that you'll be able to use in Excel to get many more of the refinements that I really didn't take the time to go into. And this is done on purpose. I mean, as it is that the videos that you're going to be looking at are going to require you to spend a fair amount of time in order to get up to speed and to be considered proficient at operating with Excel. So hopefully you will continue to look at subsequent videos that I'm going to be adding. And then once you get yourself acclimated in the workplace, you could end up, believe it or not, being the expert in the company or in the office as one that has worked with Excel and is able to do the things that are necessary to do. You've just watched the fourth video in the series, which is designed to get you familiar with Excel. And once you finish the whole series, as I've said at the end of each one of them pretty much, you should be able to add Excel skills to your resume. After the series is complete, if you've watched all of them and you would like, you can email me and I will send you a brief quiz that you can take. And passing that quiz, you could, if you wanted, order a certificate of completion from me. And I will give you more information about that once all of the videos in the series are completed. And certainly you can always go into my website, which is shown here, as a way of opening up the website and looking at all of the videos that I've posted. You'll notice that most of the videos that I have done talk about doing Excel on the iPad. And this series of videos is especially important if you want to get shown at work as somebody who has Excel skills and is competent in Excel. And what these are designed for, again, is for you when you're working on a desktop or a laptop machine as opposed to your iPad. You can always enter your email in the comments section, or better yet, you can click the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand side of the video. And when you do that, there's no cost or anything that's involved in it. What'll happen is that as new videos are posted, you'll automatically be getting a copy of them when I do that. So it could be to your advantage to do that. It makes sense. Before you leave this video, as I have said at the end of each one of these in the training series, I would really appreciate it if you could take a minute to go to comments and at least enter how you plan to be using what you're learning here. Is it something you're doing for work or school or just general math stuff or home projects, whatever it is? And equally important, at least to me, is in your comments, tell me what you thought of the video. If you thought it was wonderful, and I hope you did, I would really appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up. If you didn't think it was wonderful, if there are things that you thought should be there that weren't there, you should tell me what those are, because that's going to help me to improve the videos so that they'll be a better sit for others that look at them. So, and I promise that whatever comments and or questions you might have that you post, I will try to get back to you within a day so you'll understand what's going on and hopefully get the answers to the questions that you might pose. So hopefully we'll see you again in another video.